This is the 2024 Land Cruiser, and I'm going to tell you 5 ways that this is so much better than the last generation. And I've got a question for you. How many Land Cruisers were sold in the first year? I'm going to tell you at the end of the video. First, hear me out. I think this is a legit competitor to the Jeep and the Ford Bronco. And here's why. This is now a smaller vehicle than it has been for a while. This is now 4.4 inches narrower than the last generation and a little over 1 inch shorter. And that means from a size perspective, this puts it right in between the Jeep Wrangler and the bigger Bronco. And I think they're really back with this back to basics kind of approach and design. Now this is not as lifted or as aggressive as either of those vehicles, but it is going to be less laser focused on purely going off-road. So this is going to be a less compromised vehicle, but it's going to be better all around. And of course, we've got Toyota reliability. If you prefer the Japanese, the domestics, I think Toyota sort of finally has you covered. We've got the build quality, and this is in the same format as those vehicles. It even has a little bit of a same kind of design look to it also. Toyota says their design principles for this are authentic, reliable, timeless, and professional. Now, when I think about the Jeep and the Bronco, I don't think of professional, so this has got a little bit more of that Japanese kind of flavor to it. And when we think of timeless, I think this design probably is going to stand the test of time. It is definitely sort of modern. It's got a modern interpretation with this new square, boxy, angular design language that Toyota and Lexus are going for. But let me know what you think. Do you think this vehicle is going to stand the test of time in the way it looks? Second, we've got this brand new design language, which is completely different from the last generation, the 200 series. This has got a lot more angularity to it. This has got a lot more chunkiness, and frankly, it just looks a lot more aggressive. So this vehicle was designed in North America at the Calty Studios, and this is designed for a North American buyer. And let me know, do you think this has FJ vibes at all? I think it certainly does. So this is built on the TNGA architecture, and you're gonna find other Toyota and Lexus vehicles on this platform. TNGA F means F stands for body on frame. The new Tundra is on this, the new Tacoma is on this, the new Lexus GX. This is a full-on truck. This is a modern chassis with modern construction. They have strengthened this and stiffened this over the last generation quite substantially by using more advanced welding techniques. We've got laser welds. We've got more use of high-strength steel. And this is designed to take this platform into the future. Just looks epic. So you can see we've got some plastic sort of over fenders here. We've got a lot of space between the wheels and the top of the wheel well. Now, all of these have a suspension, which is a brand new double wishbone design up front with twin tube shocks. In the rear, we have a multi-link suspension with springs. There's no active dampers or suspension in here. This is a little bit more back to basics than what we had before. And they all ride on 18-inch wheels and tires. These are LTX trail tires on this particular one. But what I really like about this is all of the way the lines flow together here. So we have these very cool headlights with 3 LEDs. We have this sort of brow, and it goes over to this really chunky, boxy, square center grille. And it just gives it a real muscular, masculine kind of look. All of these have a toe point, and you can get a skid plate on the upper end versions too. Instead of having a round fender flare, I've got this squared off kind of boxy kind of look to it. I've got this lower body cladding right down here, which sort of accents the doors. And then what I really like is I've got this line, this character line that flows up from here, and it just goes straight back into the rear fenders over here. And that is mirrored with a character line going across the top of the vehicle all the way into the hood. So there's only one powertrain that you can get now in this vehicle, and this is the iForce Max. This is a 2.4 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder hybrid. And you can also find this engine in the upcoming Toyota Tacoma. So this is the new power plant that they're going with. The V8 is sadly gone, and I think One of the reasons for that, of course, is fuel economy and efficiency and all that kind of good stuff that the government agencies tell us that we need to have right now. This is an engine that makes 326 horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque. And that is a lot more torque than the outgoing V8, which only made 401 pound-feet of torque. Now, they haven't released MPG figures on this, fuel efficiency figures, but we think that we're probably going to be able to get up to about 30 miles per gallon on the highway and 24 city. This is just purely my speculation based on what Toyota is able to do, what they've been able to do in the past. And I'm pretty sure, this is pure speculation now, that this vehicle is going to be quite a bit lighter than the outgoing 200 series Land Cruiser, because the international version, the 300 series, 200 kilograms lighter than the previous generation, the 300. So that is about 440 pounds. So if they've taken that much weight out of this, or a similar amount of weight, I think we're going to see a much lighter vehicle than the outgoing one, and that portends really good things. So the drivetrain is a full-time 4x4 system. This is going to be on all the time, and this is the real deal. What we have is a fully electronic transfer case. So you got 4 high and 4 low, center locking differential, which is going to be able to get you out of some sticky situations. You've got a rear locking differential, and this is all standard, even on the base level trim. And then we have what's called an auto LSD in the rear. I think that's just going to be, the brakes are going to be grabbing either side to do that, but when you've got a locking rear differential, I think you're going to be pretty good. This is a very capable off-road kind of setup here with this 4x4 system. And of course, we got a full-size spare back here too. In this Land Cruiser edition, we've got real leather seats that are heated and ventilated. And we've got some really, really nice surfaces here, which you don't get in the base version. This looks to be some sort of, it's very soft touch over here. And all the materials look really, really nice. I really like this contrast accent kind of stitching that they have over here. In the rear, loads and loads and loads of space back here. I'll show you in the base version too. But this is a beautiful looking cabin, I think, especially for the money. This interior really reminds me of sort of the GX, but a little bit lighter in terms of luxury and creature comforts. Even though I think this is not unluxurious, this is sort of near luxury. I think the fit and finish in here is really nice. I really like these seats. And in the back, we actually have, passengers have their own heating and ventilation controls back here too, which is really nice. Don't think we have cooled seats back here, but this again is a super nice vehicle inside, at least in my opinion. And one thing I like is we got little vents right up here for the passengers, so you can get a little bit of, don't know if you can see that, but a little bit of extra cooling right over here too when it gets really hot outside. So we have a 12.3-inch display. This is part of the new Toyota connected system. Let's see if I can get it to come up here. This is a very good system. It is available in a lot of different Toyota products now. They are basically rolling this out across the entire lineup. The touchscreen is super responsive, and what I really like is that the heating and ventilation controls are all physical. Right over here, we got really nice classic buttons, super easy to reach, super intuitive. That's the way that all manufacturers should be doing it. They should just get stuff off screens. I think Toyota is doing it right. Here is what you got for your control structure down here for your different drive modes. We can see we've got the center locker, we've got the rear locker, we got high and low for your transfer case, you've got all your different drive modes, you've got your crawl control, and you got multi-terrain select in the higher trim packages starting from the Land Cruiser up. And finally, the most important thing is the price. This is going to start in the mid $50,000 price point, and that makes it directly competitive with the Jeep and the Bronco, because the last generation, the 200 series, was $86,000, $87,000 when it bowed out. That is a lot of money, and that is now where the GX is going to be on the upper trim levels, at least in my opinion. They haven't announced pricing yet. So that is making this so much more accessible to so many more people. We have 3 different trims on this. We have the 1958, which is the base one with the round headlights. That's got cloth seats, an 8-inch display, and they all come with a 2.4 kilowatt inverter. This is the Land Cruiser I'm in right now. This is the mid-grade. This has got the slim headlights, which are reminiscent of the J 62, the mid-80s and early 90s Land Cruiser. This has a front stabilizer bar disconnect, and this has rigid LED lights, multi-terrain select, which is you need to move up to this to get that, and a 12.3-inch display in soft text materials. And then the first edition has a roof rack, rock rails, a front skid plate, tailgate light, and leather seats. Now let's take a look at the Land Cruiser 1958 edition. This is the entry level, and it does not disappoint whatsoever. Let me show you what is special about this particular vehicle. So we got this real chunky design language that is really a nod to all the heritage of the Land Cruiser. Look at these headlights. So these are specific to the 1958 version. Of course, they're LEDs. We have these very square looking turn signals and this very sort of boxy design language. Now on this base edition, the 1958 edition, we have 18-inch wheels and tires. And what is common to all of the Land Cruisers is we now have a revised suspension up front. There's a double wishbone style suspension up front, and in the rear we have a multi-link with springs. And what is common to all of these, which you get in all of these, is you get a locking center differential, and you get a locking rear differential, and you get a limited slip as well. And of course, you get a full-size spare tire here. So this is going to be very, very capable off-road. Now, in terms of the angle of approach and departure, on this version we have a 30-degree angle of approach. The breakover is 25 degrees, and the angle of departure is 22 degrees. So not quite as much as the last generation, but you can see this is a little bit smaller, and there is a ton of space in the back of this thing too. Let's pop this open. So we can see here, I'm not quite sure how many cubic feet this is, but it is a lot. I can easily fit my entire person back here if I wanted to. So super practical vehicle. And I think the big difference between this and the Jeep and Bronco is that this has a fixed roof. And so this is going to be a lot more quiet. It's going to have a stiffer structure. This is going to be a more all-round kind of vehicle that is going to be friendlier to you driving in the city. This is not going to be quite the purpose-built vehicle that you get with those vehicles, which are really heavily skewed towards off-road. This is going to be a more practical, better, rounded, all-around vehicle. So looking at the interior, we have a completely brand new redesigned interior. This is all new. This bears no resemblance to the last generation whatsoever. This actually has some of the GX vibes, and that is because this is built on the same TNGA F platform. The F is for frames. This is a body-on-frame platform. And this is, in my opinion, a simple, purposeful, nicely designed interior. I've got some soft touch materials up here, some hard touch down here, and in this base version, the 1958, I have cloth seats which are heated. They are not cooled. And I've got a very nice cockpit that is nicely laid out. We get an 8-inch display. We do get wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. We've got a very simple gauge cluster up here. Again, purposeful, easy to read, fully digital, multiple USB ports in the front. And these seats are quite comfortable. So these base seats are heated. They are not cooled. They're cloth, but they're very comfortable. Huge amount of space back here. Tons of knee room. This is surprisingly big. The amount of headroom back here is massive. I'm 5'9", and I got a ton of space. Anyone who is over 6 foot tall is not going to have any problem with these rear seats. And if you wanted to know how many Land Cruisers Toyota sold in the first year, the answer is 1. Thanks for watching.